Yo, what's good? It's your boy DeeGuwap. Welcome back to the channel. Next up, we got Paid in Full, or The True Story Matters, a film analysis. I randomly discovered this video, and I was like, fuck it, why not react to it? Paid in Full is a top 5 hood movie. Hell, I can make a case it's a top 5 movie, period. And so, let's get into it.
I don't like hood movies the same way that I used to. I used to think they were these films that just featured people who didn't give a shit and lived by their own rules. They were respected through their neighborhoods and I thought it was cool. But after revisiting many
Nah, I can relate. I kind of felt the same way. Like, these was niggas who just did whatever the fuck they wanted. And I thought they were the coolest niggas. I still think they cool. I just think I'm gonna say that shit to the end.
of these movies as an adult to cover on this channel, some in which I hadn't seen since I was a kid, I've realized I simply don't like them like that anymore. Now with that being said, I think I like them even more, but for very different reasons. I appreciate the stories they tell and their perspectives in which they choose to tell them through, which is often the minority perspective that would probably otherwise go unnoticed if it wasn't for these big screen adaptations. But what separates the really good hood movies from the rest is their ability to provide a message within the plot or educate those same people who may not be familiar what's going on in these less fortunate neighborhoods and why. But perhaps just as important, they have the power to educate those who do live in these hoods and maybe are thinking of a life in the streets. I don't want
Nah, that's some real shit. Every hood movie I watched um kind of just made me want more in life. Made me realize that there is more than just the everyday shit I was going through. And I wanted to experience that shit.
to diminish any of these hood classics by simply calling them cautionary tales, but there is an aspect of deterrence from this lifestyle many of them attempt to depict. And one of the best examples of this comes from the 2002 film Paid in Full, but more specifically, the real-life events that inspired the movie. So today, we're going to dive into the movie Paid in Full, but also examine why the true story should matter. But before we get into it, I just wanted to really
Go
quickly
ahead and
say,
plug your shit.
please don't hesitate to hit that subscribe button if you like what I do here. And also, hit the like button while you're there, as that helps this video be seen so I can continue getting
Go ahead and
content
like,
like
bro.
this out for you guys. Anyways, let's jump right back into it. So in order to paint the full picture, I have to start by summarizing the film, and I'm going to do this pretty quickly, so bear with me. Paid in Full tells the rags to riches story of two friends, Ace and Mitch. Mitch is already well known throughout Harlem for his flamboyant lifestyle and the money he has. He rides around in some of the dopest cars, wears some of the freshest clothes of the time, and above all else, he's pretty respected throughout his neighborhood.
Bro, that ass, I'm not even a car person because I Paid in Full. I want one of them sobs that they had in the movie. Like, I think this was 84, 83. Bro, I want a 1980 sob just to have, bro.
His close friend Ace, on the other hand, works at a laundromat and is seemingly unimpressive compared to Mitch. Now this doesn't last long because Ace soon comes upon some Coca-Cola and starts selling it himself eventually, especially after Mitch gets locked up. Ace sort of becomes the man and he begins supplying the neighborhood.
Ace Boogie.
Mitch gets out of jail and introduces Ace to Rico, someone Mitch met in jail, who, despite being a loose cannon, instantly professes his loyalty to both Ace and Mitch.
Nah, bro. Anybody with eyes could tell that nigga Rico wasn't right. Bro, like, that nigga was genuinely unstable.
And becomes an integral part of their crew, the third member, if you will. The three men practically run Harlem at this point, and if all of this is beginning to sound too good to be true, it's because it is. Paid in Full is a movie that perfectly shows both sides to the street gang. During their rise to fame, a lot of shit happens. Ace gets ambushed and shot in the head and
Hmm.
other places, and although he survives, 3 of his family members are executed in the next room. As for
Yeah.
Mitch, his little brother is abducted shortly after his release from prison, and then he himself is murdered by the very people he trusted to help get his little brother
Not
back.
people
And if
personally.
you don't know or haven't put this together, their friend Rico is the one who kills him. Rico ends up going to prison, and if you ask me, no amount of hip hop music, cool clothes, and cars can drown out the depressing tone of this movie. Now, if you know how films claim to be based off of real events, but like only 10% of the film actually is, that's pretty much not the case with this movie. Paid in Full is based on the real lives of AZ Faison, Rich Porter, and Alpo Martinez, a well
Bro, the casting was damn near spot on. Like, obviously they're a more glorified version looking, and I don't really think Wood Harris looked like AZ, but fucking Mackay Pfeiffer is Rich and Cameron is Rico. Top tier.
known and documented crew who did indeed run Harlem throughout the 1980s. The movie is told mainly from the perspective of Ace, who is AZ Faison in real life. And while some liberties are taken, the movie appears to be relatively faithful. For example, AZ really was shot 9 times during a robbery, including a shot to the head. 6 others were also shot in this event, with 3 of them unfortunately losing their lives in the process. The character of Mitch is based off of Rich Porter, a well-known hustler in Harlem who eventually really was killed by Rico, or Alpo Martinez in real life. The murder did happen while Rich was attempting to
Damn,
earn
this
some
bitch
extra
made.
money to get his brother back, who really was abducted in real life. And to make matters worse, Rich Porter's little brother would never make it home, as he was eventually and unfortunately murdered by his captors, which included one of Rich's and his little brother's uncles. The lie
Bro, this is so bitch made, bro. Uncle kidnapped one of his nephews because his other nephew had money, bro. Like, bro, can't respect that shit.
and stories of these individuals can be read about or listened to with first-hand perspectives, because these perspectives exist from both AZ and Alpo respectively. They can be found here, right here on YouTube, both admitting to and detailing their life story. And while I don't know anyone involved or affected by these events personally, I can say that the true story surrounding these individuals is heartbreaking, to say the least.
And it really is heartbreaking for real, for real.
So for me to point out that hood movies are more than just movies would be an understatement. A lot of the shit we see on screen actually happens. As someone born and raised in California and who has seen firsthand gang life and the gang activities that are associated with it, I can tell you how real it is. While movies like Boys in the Hood and Menace to Society show how the effects of racism and how it's connected to poverty and gang violence and a life of crime, and how hard it can be to escape that life, Paid in Full chooses to focus on the very human aspects of greed and envy and paranoia, and how these things also play a role in a life of crime,
Yeah.
especially when the success does hit. It shows that it isn't always a rival gang or crew like in other hood movies that's trying to get you.
Nah, that ass, bro. They didn't even really have rivals now that I think about it. Like, I guess Rich's uncle and their group was gonna become a problem eventually. But like there wasn't others, like there was no straight villains introduced. Hell, the main villain was a nigga in their camp.
Instead, that it could be your own friends and even family. With this being said, Paid in Full was and still is an influential film. When it came out, rappers praised it and street people and everybody praised it. Those who loved hood movies. They loved the characters and they held it in such high regard in almost a similar way that they did Scarface.
This is better than Scarface. And Scarface is a good movie. but this is better because not only is based in reality, uh, bro, it's this shit is better. And I understand why some people would say it's not, and not even on its level. Bro, y'all ain't really experienced hood life for real, for real.
They would dress like the characters, and I've even seen some paid in full themed birthday parties online too. But we can't forget that there was an entire generation of older rappers and individuals who were influenced by or knew of the real men that this movie is based on. And I'm a huge fan of old school 90s and 80s. I remember hearing some of these names and some of these individuals being mentioned in their music. So naturally, when the film came out and I got to see the actual dudes they were referencing, it made the film stand out even more to me. However, it also showed that no matter all of the glitz, glamour, and respect that these men had, it ultimately all meant nothing, as only one of the trio is still alive till this day,
That
and a
ass.
whole list of others who were in their circle have either gone to prison or have been murdered. And if you don't take anything else from this video, take that the film is ultimately telling us that even when a life of crime does lead to success, that success may only be temporary. And while the
Right.
film does make this message quite clear, nothing hits harder than reality, and that's why the true story of Paid in Full should matter. So in my opinion, Paid in Full is one of the best biopics out there, but it's also one of the most slept on and underrated. And I think a lot of this is due to its modest budget and a lack of press during its release. It never quite garnered the attention it deserved, especially commercially, but it's
I
definitely a
agree.
cult classic for many. It's one of the few hood films that has a fairly deep message, but in addition, it's acted remarkably. I mean, Mekhi Phifer and Wood Harris give all-time
Bro,
great.
I said this before back on my old channel, and I stamped this. Mekhi Phifer should have won an Oscar. Should have won the Oscar for that year. I don't know who won. I don't give a fuck who won. Bro, Mekhi Phifer was in his bag. I'm not even a huge, I don't even really like Mekhi Phifer. I didn't even really put two and two together. That was the nigga with the dreadlocks in 8 Mile. Because he acted poorly in that. But he was in his bag.
Performances. But honestly, it's Cameron's Rico who steals the show here. Now, I'm not even sure if Cameron had acted before this movie,
I don't think
but he
anybody
was so
thought Cameron could act
believable,
like
it's
this.
kind of concerning now that I think about it. Now, I do have a couple knocks on the film, however, with one of them being the dialogue. It's not the best written film, and also the cinematography and direction aren't really anything to write home about. Also, some of the dramatic liberties taken feel a bit unnecessary when you take into consideration the true story is fascinating enough on its own. But besides this, it's a highly entertaining movie with some truly shocking scenes and memorable performances. It has a great message, and it remains one of my favorites personally of all time. And for that, I give Paid in Full an 8 out of 10. Anyways, enough about what I think. Let me know what you guys think about Paid in Full. Do you like it? Do you hate it? How does it rate amongst your favorite hood movies or films in general? Leave a comment below, and if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button for your boy. And don't forget to
And go ahead and follow and like, bro. But have you ever seen Paid in Full? Let me know down below. What's your favorite moment, your favorite character, and is it a top 5 movie to you, top 5 hood movie, or a top movie in general? Let me know, and let me know if you like me to react more to buddy stuff, and drop some suggestions down below, and I'll catch y'all next time.